Hey, it's back with priceactiontrading.system.com, and it is Monday, September 16th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this month is flying by. I can't believe it's already halfway gone. I just don't know where the time is going, but it's going by quickly. Anyway, let's take a look at our daily chart here real quickly just to get a longer term picture. And you can see we're getting close to testing these highs again. We couldn't get through there last time successfully. Let's see if we'll push through this time and see what happens. This should be up here a little higher. May have to adjust some of these. If you haven't already done so, you should have updated, moved to the December contract. I moved over today. Doesn't look much different really, but yeah, if you haven't rolled over to the December, I would roll over tomorrow for sure. You can see it looks like we made, I don't know if we made an equal high there, 0275. And we've got a 2-bar matching high here on the daily chart, so we couldn't push through that previous high, so we'll see if we can do that tomorrow or not. We did close up today. It was mostly sideways, but we closed on the high end. We broke out to the high side and closed slightly higher. Nothing to write home about, but the rally continues. That's the big picture issue, is the rally does continue. So let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart, take a look, and we'll go through the trades. And there was a little bit lower volume today, and that's probably because it's rollover. There's, the big, it takes a little while to unwind some really big, some of the really big contracts and transfer them over to another contract. So not surprised that the volume's a little bit lower during the rollover here. Maybe it'll probably pick back up once rollover's over with. So you can see the range there. You can see we did break out the bottom and fail. And I did adjust the lower end. I did have it up here, but it looks like most of the support turned out to be down here in the end. So I did adjust that. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I've been doing that all day, accidentally clicking on things I don't mean to. But this did need adjusting a little bit, and you can see it, the midline still tend to fit real nicely there. So I believe this is correct, and you had an overshoot down here and an overshoot on the top, but we closed back inside the range. So so that's how I saw it. You can see the micro trends within, but let's zoom in here, go through these trades. There's not a lot of them today, so it won't take long. Early on, we're coming down. You get we're just sideways action here, but you get a break and new low down here where you had previous support. But notice the break and a couple of swings down to a new low, and then you get a nice signal bar. I like taking that trade. Just try to ride it back to the EMA, and maybe it'll reverse and go back to the highs. Doesn't go too far before it turns down, and we do push through this time. It fails momentarily, or it pushes through momentarily, then fails, and then turns back up. But I don't see any chance to get long here. It runs up, and there's really not a good chance to get short here. Notice you get a break in new high, and you make a lower high here, but the signal bar is not tradable. Then you come back and you try to go higher twice more, and you get a second entry short right here. Now that signal, the only reason I made this green is that signal bar is it's close. Maybe if it was a tick lower, I'm not quite sure you can justify that being in the lower thirds. It's not really bullish, but it's not really bearish either. I think it needed to close a tick or two lower to really justify saying, hey, that's a bearish bar. But it's not bullish, so maybe you take that trade, especially after this is basically a new high. You call that a new high. So that's a first entry, second entry. So that's a failure where you're looking for a reversal, and then it's also a second entry short. So I think if you count the failure in there, I think you could justify maybe taking that one. But that's a little more advanced, and I still, I made it green regardless, so it was just a tough call. And of course, we ran down here and made a much lower low because earlier we'd had it across up here. And there's clearly two legs down here. That's a second entry long. Generally, you want to wait on a higher low, but I'm telling you, you hear me say it all the time, these failed break lowers, especially that far away from the EMA on a second entry with a good signal bar, those turn out to be some important lows. And of course, this turned out to be the low of the day. It didn't end up going in a big long move until much later, but still, that's a fairly nice move if you just rode it back to the trend line. That's, it's 8 points. I'm sorry, not the trend line, the EMA. It's still 8 points there. So those can be really nice setups. But anyway, you get a break, a new high, and then you get a trend down. This is just more sideways act. I think we're reestablishing a new support line is what we're doing here. You might try to argue there's a second entry there, and if you had a good setup, maybe you'd take it, but you just can't take that big bar. I mean, it's 30 ticks basically, so just skip that. And if you notice, a few minutes later, you get a triple test here and a second entry long with a decent signal bar. Now, this is interesting. Pay attention to this. This is why I only like to go for 4 ticks, because it's got exactly 4 ticks and then it turned down. And so if you tried to get 1 tick more out of that, you would have taken a loser here, where if you stick to the rules and you scalp 4 ticks, you have a winner. So just something to think about there. It does turn back down and then revert, and notice you get a close outside the new low all in one bar, and it runs up, and then you get a close outside the new high, and you're working down, close outside new low. And if you got a good signal bar here, maybe you take this second entry long, bounce off the support again, but that signal bar is just too neutral. But a few minutes later, we do come back and make a new one. Now, this didn't make a new low, but it did make a lower low than that one. And it does close back inside. It is a bullish enough bar. And it gets the close outside and new low all in one move. This one's close to being blue, but I still marked it green because it has that tail down there that made a lower low than that one. Now, it's still not an all-time low, but you're more concerned with where most of your support is, and you can see most of that support right across there, around 56.76. So I think you needed to wait on a higher low or something better here. So I marked it green. And of course, it turns out to be a good move. It runs back to the top of kind of where we'd been turning down here, and you get a close outside here. You really get a close outside and new high here, but you can't short that. Then you make a lower high here, but it's also could be a higher low. So it's possible some people went short there. I think it still worked if you did. I don't like going short there. I think you still would get out of that. No, that'd be a 1 tick failure if you took that. I don't like it anyway. It's just by the time this next bar, what you've got is you've got 3 bars here, and you got one with no body. That's congestion. Now there is enough room to scalp out there, so that's why some people might have still taken that trade on a lower high. If you did, and once you got into this congestion here, as soon as it gave you a chance to scratch at break even or even a tick or two, just exit, and then you don't. That's the only time I would monkey with my trades. If it starts going sideways like that, and you get a chance to, because it should have went lower if it was going lower here, especially when the second entry triggered. And when it triggers and turns back up, you don't probably have a whole lot of time to make up your mind. So really, once you've realized, if you didn't already see the congestion by the time your signal bar set up here, when you got these next couple, that's your clue. Get out. Just take just try to get out of scratch, try to get out 1 or 2 ticks, whatever it'll give you, get out, save your money, and live to fight another, for your next trade. But normally I'll tell you don't monkey with your trades, but when you see that congestion like that, It's probably not a bad idea. Even if it ends up working, you're probably better off just to scratch it and get another opportunity later on without losing any money. So that's kind of my thoughts behind when it goes into congestion like that. Just take what it'll give you. Usually you can get out with a tick or two. And you got a chance here more than once to get out with a tick at least. Maybe by this last bar, maybe a tick or two or three. But it bounces because it was a one tick failure. So bounces and it's just working sideways again. You do have a failed break to the high side that's tempting, but I think you need to wait on the lower high. It would have worked. Turns right back up though. And then we're just working sideways again. We're making higher highs here, but notice we're kind of flat across here. So, but notice we came back to the trend line. We do get a close outside, but you get a higher low. And this breaks lower and fails and turns up. I think you can trade that on the engulfing bar with no problems. I don't know if I'd wait for this to close and go long. In fact, I'd tell you at 21 ticks, no, I probably wouldn't. But I wouldn't have any problem entering on the engulfing bar there. And that gets you in 8 or 9 ticks maximum. And it does turn down up here. It gives you a lower high, which is tempting. I just didn't quite, that just looks too congested to me, and there's not much room back. We do make a new high here, but a lot of times you'll get 2 legs up. So I felt it was better to sit tight. And then, of course, you get another test here, and you get another nice signal bar. Now, this one looks a little congested. But again, I think it's good enough. You probably could take that because we tried to go lower 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different bars, and we can't go any lower. And then suddenly you get a bullish bar. The market can't go lower, it's going to go higher. So we're probably headed back up here to test the highs at a minimum, and off it goes. And if you're in a trade like this just before 2:30, you don't have to necessarily exit that trade at 2:30. If you've got a runner or if you're just managing it, trying to catch a bigger move, by all means, you can hang on to that trade. Now, before 3 o'clock, I'd probably get out, and I'd keep my stop close just in case. But you can continue to just don't take any new trades after 2:30. That's the key there. But if you're in profit and managing a runner or something like that, there's nothing wrong with staying in that trade after 2:30. Just don't take any new ones after 2:30. Don't start before 7 o'clock, and don't take any new trades after 2:30. Now, again, you can manage a runner or something like that, but just don't take any new trades. And I didn't see anything else I liked today. That was pretty much it. We spent from really around just 11:15 or so to the rest of the day trending higher. And early on, this was just really mixed in here, and this was just more mixed up until about that, like I said, around 11:20, a little after 11:20, it just started rallying. But that's how I saw it today. Nothing to write home about. There are a few second entries and a couple of decent range trades there, but nothing to write home about really. Hopefully it'll pick up when next couple of days as rollover. It'll continue to slowly, the volume will rise and it'll pick up, and we'll get better opportunity. So, but anyway, there it is. That's how I saw it. I'm not going to beat around the bush today. I do want to make one more comment here. I get this comment a lot. People will, let me zoom in here and show you this. Somebody asked me why I drew my trend channel like this and why I didn't maybe draw it like this. And the main reason is because you got 2 legs down. Even if this is a trend, the way I drew it the second way, the first trend is still valid. So you really won't know if you're right until later on. So basically his question to me was what made me draw it this way and not the way I just showed you. And there's nothing that helps you with that other than experience. And that's what I try to get across to people, is that you can learn the basics of this strategy in a few months even. But you're not going to be a skilled chart reader, and it's a skill, and you're not going to be good at it until you get a lot of screen time and repetition, and that's the difference. you know, once you see that little break there and then you get a second leg down, it's clearly 2 legs down, and look how far away you are from the EMA. It's a failed break lower. That's a second entry. You can't hardly. I mean, I marked it green because you need to be good enough to see this. You're better off to wait on the higher low, but that never really comes. So if you didn't take this, you missed this move. Now, I'm not saying that means you need to be risky and take this move every time. I'm just saying when you get good enough and you understand what's going on, could this have failed? Yes, it could have failed. But there's a high probability on a second entry that's been away from the EMA that far and is it that far away at that point, it's going to snap back. Yeah, you'd rather see it move a little bit and then give you a higher low and then take off, but it's so overdone, it snaps right back. And so, yeah, there's not a whole lot of nothing other than experience will help you with that. I mean, I don't have any rules I can give you because it doesn't do this consistently. But when you start to see, I mean, it's obvious that's a trend. So could we have another trend within a trend? Yes, very possible. It's not very often you're going to see two real tight ones like that. I mean, that looks valid. But notice we never made a new low there. The price is tried, so maybe that is valid as well. And we just never got a new retest of the low. But even if I'd drawn it that way, I might have still taken that trade. I doubt I would have with the trend line that close there. There's probably still, if it shoots straight up, enough room. But to me, it looks like 2 legs down, clearly 2 legs down, and you've really just got another little trend here. Now, what might help you with that one, besides what you see here, was if there were 2 legs in the middle, which I guess you could say there's a hidden 2 legs there because it made a low, it went up. No, it's just I guess it didn't. It didn't come back down and then go back up there, so I don't think so. But anyway, there's just a couple of different ways. I mean, that's how I drew it, and I like the way it's set up here. How do I know not to play it the other way? You don't really, other than experience, and then you're taking a chance. There's a few places I like to take a chance on a trade like this. If this was a trend day, I probably wouldn't do this. But the fact that this has been arranged, the odds are it's going to snap back because at that point the long range lows had been up here, but even right here you probably would have moved them down to there. And so that's a failed break lower. And odds are they're going to snap back. Yes, I'd rather have a higher low here, but you don't get one. So it's just a learning opportunity since it was a real quick chart lesson today. I thought I would show you that and share that with you. So anyway, yeah, nothing's going to help you with that other than experience. And that's why I say you need lots and lots of screen time and experience. And you can't get that trading live trying to pick 2 or 3 of the best trades every day. You're never going to get enough experience. You need to be on the simulator taking every trade you see that you think meets our criteria, and you need to do that as much as you can. Even once you start trading live, you should probably still be sim trading on the side. And then when you see the trade that you think's a sure thing, then you can flip to live and take it. But otherwise, keep taking get as much screen time and trading practice as you can every single day, because that's what makes you better. And there's no comparison to it. There's nothing that substitutes for that. That's the key to all of it, experience. And so you take the best traders, most of them have years and years and years of sitting here watching this prices print over and over and over every day. I mean, if you take my screen hours, I've figured them up conservatively before, and there's somewhere between 30 and 40,000 hours, something like that. And that's real conservative, so it's probably more than that, because I sit here all day, every day. I may not be watching it all the time now, but for years, the first 10 years, I probably watched it all day long. And I just kind of went and said on average over those years, I've done 6 hours a day. And that doesn't count all my studying after hours on the weekends, just studying charts. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many hours I've got looking at charts. And you compare that to what, even if you've been doing this 2 or 3 years, yours is a scratch in the dirt. It's nothing compared to what and I'm not saying that to Pat, but I'm just giving you an example. There's people that have just as much experience or more than I have. But there's 90% of the people don't have any experience and they're trying to trade live and wonder why they fail. This is a skill. It's just like trying to go play professional baseball. You can't be sitting in the stands in the 9th inning of the World Series and expect to go pick it with 2 outs and down 1-0, and even if bases are loaded and 2 outs and you go get in the batter's box, what do you think is probably going to happen? You're probably going to strike out. Even the pros only get a hit 2 or 3 times out of 10, so the odds of you getting one are probably 0. But if you got to go practice with them every day and you saw those real pitchers in live action and you have a little bit of aptitude for it, you might get to where you could hit the ball 2 or 3 times out of 10. You might actually step in there and get a base hit and win the game for them. But you're not going to come out of the stands, me or you, and make that hit right now. It's impossible. It's next to impossible. It would be a miracle. Let's just put it at that. And you know how, well, miracles don't happen very often, once in a blue moon. So it would be that once in a blue moon miracle if you got that hit. Same thing, if let's say you want to be a professional musician. The only way you're going to do that, it's very few people that can just sit down and start playing and within a year or 2 could play professionally. There's probably some out there, but they're few and far between. Most people, you got to learn how to play first. And then how do you get good enough to play professionally? You have to practice every day, over and over and over. You have to get practice and repetition. Trading these charts and understanding these charts is the same thing. You have to get that practice and repetition. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope that's helpful to you. Get that experience, get that screen time, get on the simulator. Don't feel like that's a rookie move that only rookies do, because if you have that attitude, you're going to be a rookie forever. Trust me. The odds are going to be against you. When people push back against sim trading, I just scratch my head and say, okay, whatever. You know better than me. That's why you're having all that success, because you know better than me. So if you wonder why you're not having any success and you're not hearing me when I tell you to be on the simulator as much as you can, then you're wasting a valuable opportunity. That's all I can tell you. I'll read you the emails from people that do it. I don't know how else I can get that across to people, but I'm going to keep pounding it, because eventually one of you will hear it and say, I heard you say it 100 times and why it never registered, I don't know. Suddenly it registered and I did it, and now look, I'm successful. So I'll keep pounding it in there. If you get tired of hearing it, just skip through it. But it just seems to be I have to pound stuff over and over sometimes before that light goes off and people actually either hear it or they hear it and they don't understand it. I'm not sure. And sometimes I don't think the people are either but suddenly the light goes off and they get it. But they have a hard time getting it and grasping it sometimes. So anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to wrap this up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.